Namaste. My name is ambikaarunaganesh. Thank you so much for joining this course on the DasMahaVidyas. This is part of the Tantra tradition, where we study 10 forms of the Shakti of the greatest power that powers the world. And my work at the moment, this course is derived from this book, The 10 Great Cosmic Powers by S. Shankar Narayanan. So, why are we studying the DasMahaVidyas? That's a more interesting question. I felt today we could explore that. Why do we even need to study the DasMahaVidyas? So, the thing is that these, to my understanding, are representations of different aspects of how the world comes into being. And when we start understanding the inner workings of the universe, we tend to focus less on ourselves and focus more on how things are happening than why they're happening to me or how they're happening to me. So I initially felt it was very like, why do we need to study? I grew up with Lakshmi, then why do I need to know Kamalatmika? Or I already know Durga, then why do I have to learn about Bhuvaneshwari? मतलब different names ही है ना, तो फिर why do I want to study it? But when I realized that this the Tantra perspective actually is more than Devi or gods or goddesses or religion. It is more about how the world came into being. How do I make the most of what I know about the world through the Devis? Okay. So that's the perspective I am teaching from. There are many different perspectives for people how they perceive and use the knowledge of DasMahaVidya. But for us, the purpose at this point in this book and personally for me is to share how things work so that you can focus more on the world and the workings of the universe rather than yourself and actually dissolve the ego in the process. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes. Thank you.
We have done 4 Mahavidyas before, and today we're going to do. So we spoke about Bhairavi, right? In the other place already, like in the other course, the one before, the episode before. Do you remember which ones?
Yeah, we didn't study Bhairavi. We studied Kali, Ma Kali, Tara. Then we
Yes,
studied Tripurasundari, Lalita Tripurasundari, and then we studied Bhuvaneshwari.
correct. So when we were talking about Tripurasundari, there
Oh
was a
yes,
part.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So if she's the beauty, then someone has to take the brunt of being something the opposite of it. Not something, but just the opposite of it, right?
yeah,
So that brunt basically is taken by
yes,
Bhairavi. She's the other part. So that's Tripura Bhairavi. Okay.
yes,
So now we're going to tie this all up, the 4 other goddesses before and today. How? The Upanishads talk of 3 poises of the absolute transcendental divine. Okay. And what are these 3? So basically, they're like precursors to creation. 3 things that are necessary for creation to happen. One is Icchá-Shakti, which is Tripurasundari, Jnana-Shakti, which is knowledge power, Bhuvaneshwari, and Kriya Shakti, which is Tripura Bhairavi. So
okay,
all these 3 goddesses work in triads. So the Upanishads talk of 3 poises of the absolute in transcendental divine. So what are poises is basically precursors or necessary elements of creation. So one is the Icchá Shakti, which is the willpower of the divine itself to create itself. Jnana Shakti, which is the knowledge power, and Kriya Shakti, which is the action power, which will bring the first 2 in manifestation. Okay. So Upanishads say Sa Tapo Tapyata means he energized himself. So
Mhm.
the one who derives the energy from their own self and manifests by tapas. Now tap karna ya tap is a very popular term, and usually it's related to sadhana or doing something extreme discipline activity to get something in spiritual world. But here tapas is used in a cosmic way. It's like the universe doing tapas for itself, and that action force, basically the actual activity of doing it, is Tripura Bhairavi. Now, this tapas is represented by the god Agni, the god of fire, which is basically concentrated consciousness, or we call it cidagni, the flame of consciousness that burns everything. It is the knower of all births, all manifestations, the power that leads the aspirant to all gods, and the force that prepares the ground for the birth of the god in man. That's where Agni's job. That's the job of Agni, right? It's a concentrated consciousness. Now, this force of Agni is called Tripura Bhairavi, but also commonly known as Durga. So the Durga that we know is actually Tripura Bhairavi, but because she's also killing, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Doing, she's also called the World Mother. The World Mother is also the whole thing that about that she's the knower of all this. Now, in the subtle body, the seat, the place of Tripura Bhairavi is the Mooladhara chakra, in the base chakra. Okay, where lies the hidden divinity. So, how is it represented? The reason why Kundalini is always represented with the coiled up serpent, it's said that it is in deep sleep in the Mooladhara chakra. Okay, and it is the passive power of tapas, meaning something that is not activated yet, something that has latent potential also. Like Tripurasundari, she also works in the part of triads, as we already discussed. Now, why is Bhairavi called the terrible mother? She's called the terrible mother. Okay.
Mhm.
Because tapas is centered around a particular place or thing, right? Like we are doing a tap, meaning I have a single pointed focus. One is aware of the thing, but not the rest. So we end up focusing only in that one thing. If I were to get up at 4 a.m. and that was my tapas to continuously be in that, जिसे हम धारणा भी कहते हैं हिंदी में कि you take that on like a wow. So you will ignore everything else, right? So when the divine wanting to manifest exclusively concentrates on a particular aspect of himself, he ignores the rest of himself. And the primordial ignoring is the origin of ignorance. So we all want to blame ourselves on the spiritual journey that, oh, I have ignorance, I have vasanas, I have this, I have that. But honestly speaking, when you learn about this, you realize that this has been the creator's plan from the beginning. It's a necessary simulation for your evolution. So this was always orchestrated for you. There's nothing that you could have done to avoid it. And if there is nothing to avoid and acceptance of all, naturally you would become one with the universe, right? It's like a byproduct of that acceptance process itself. So coming back, divine has to do this to create. Why is divine even doing it then, right? But especially in case of material nature, like the nature we see and touch, the more tangible perceived by our senses, there is so much absorption, so much identification with the thing, so much self forgetful concentration in action that it looks like nothing else exists except that, and matter is the only thing that matters. But all of this is apparent. This ignorance is causing this. It's not by default this way. But ignorance or avidya, they call it avidya. Vidya is knowledge, avidya is lack of it, which is ignorance, is not complete absence of knowledge. So it's not black and white. It is partial knowledge, incomplete awareness. So I am aware of the fact that I am talking to you on a call, but I'm also aware that there is the wind blowing in my background or there was noise before. So I'm not completely, but I'm focused here. I may not have noted what bike it was, but I may have noted there was a sound. That is what we're talking about. This ignorance, limitation of consciousness imposes on us fragmentation and separation, right? The only way we know how to fragment is by concentration. And hence, self inquiry or Advait Vedanta also doesn't uh, promote meditating as meditation. So, Ramana says there's nothing called meditation. There's that can be there, but meditation is on something. So that is also seen. And if you are objectifying something, that means you have already left the place of self. Are you with me?
Yes. I
Yes.
didn't know Ramana Maharshi then suggest to meditate. So that was
Oh
news. I
yeah,
was
yeah. Yeah. So he said that self-inquiry is about also seeing who is meditating. Even the
yeah,
meditator is being seen in the self. तो फिर उसका वजूद ही नहीं रहा ना. So
yeah,
what is the point of that activity? It's just as activity as drinking water or taking a bath.
yeah.
Because you're 100% present in everything, everything becomes meditation. But that is a very rudimentary definition of dhyana, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Dhyan is a different word than meditation, where you are actually one with the divine, one beyond. So, if we were able to understand there's only one without the second, there is no cause of fear, also, right? Because fear is caused from fragmentation. I think you are different than me, you are separate from me, so I need to fear. Will I fear myself? I will
No.
not.
Yeah.
So, fear arises from other, not oneself. And
Yeah.
hence,
True.
ignorance incites fear and the resultant pain, grief, wrongdoing, discord, evil. So, Bhairavi is the terrible mother because she is the goddess of all of this. But
Mm.
who's scared of her then, right? The ones who cling to separate consciousness, who find pleasure in division, they are the ones who fear. Otherwise, there is nothing to fear again because you are the self itself. But for the ones who want to progress, she is the one who destroys fear. So this is the time when you fear. Now you're at the edge of consciousness. You are at the edge in your spiritual journey. You know you're going to cross over, but you have a lot of fear taking up, anxiety coming up. That is the time to invoke Tripura Bhairavi. Okay.
Okay.
So she's sleeping in the Mooladhara. But it will not take too long for the kinetic energy to unfold in the higher consciousness and higher capacities. Uh, on a side note, I have heard that this might be one of the ways to find siddhi in life if that is the aspiration of a seeker. Because on the way, while you are evoking, a lot will come. Lot of good things will come, shiny objects will come, siddhis will come, powers might come. But one should not really get distracted. Those are all distractions. All sorts of siddhis are distraction because that means you went with a shiny object and you did not go all the way. We'll see that it's coming. I'll explain further. Yeah.
So
Every
because
creation, two powers are necessary: active and passive. Okay. Tapas is passive. It's the Tripura Bhairavi in Mooladhara. But what is the active look like? Now this serpent has woken up. How would that look like? That look like the heat, the heat of the place, right? That moment. Even if you do a lot of chakra meditation, you might see that the parts in which these chakras are present, they heat up. That is Tripurasundari because she is based in the Sahasrara, the crown chakra. The terrible and the beautiful are two faces of the divine, same two sides of the same coin, same golden coin for that matter. Yeah. Now, the paths of knowledge leading to their realization are both known as Sri Vidya. So, they comprised in Sri Vidya, both of them. The mantras of both of them are portions that are called khandas or peak kutas and are known as the same name as the Shakti. Both these goddesses are two poles of one being. Bhairavi posited in Muladhara, while Sundari. Uh, so Bhairavi is also has a base lotus. Sundari also has a head lotus in the subtle body. When I say subtle body, literally means the ones where we find chakras. Okay. Now between them, they form a circuit, like a circular circuit. Imagine a circuit of energy from the still reservoir of the tapas in the Mooladhara. hmm, that it channels the energy up to Sahasrar. And then what it does, it comes pouring down to the reservoir. Hence, the circuit gets completed. And that's why in Kundalini also, a lot of people will have a lot of energy to go up. But the ones who are born at the top, who have Sahasrara more activated than the others, they need to actually come down. So they may not need to meditate a lot. They might need to get into a relationship or actually have a good, stable source of money, or do something practical like, cooking or gardening or something like that, rather than sitting. Because if they're just sitting, they're going to be in their astral space and they'll keep flying. And that may not be a very good thing for the seeker because they will not grow. So in Kundalini awakening also, one has to go from root to Sahasrar and also come back to integrate. Okay. Now further here, they say that the tapasya of Bhairavi makes the ascent of the being possible. The responding grace is Sundari. The energies that are derived from the descent are again thrown up in the circuit, and the ascent is again made to bring forth a further descent. This cycle of ascent and descent goes on with the two poles of consciousness between matter and spirit, between Bhairavi and Mooladhara, Sundari in the Sahasrara. The sleeping serpent is also raising its hood, licks up the nectar in the head lotus, glides back into the abyss of Maladhara, and again shoots forth. What a beautiful description, right?
Yeah.
As the fire of tapas, as the flame of the mounting aspiration, Bhairavi, striking terror in the hearts of the indolent, burns up weakness and purifies the being to a point where one can receive the rasa, the essential delight, the basic bliss, the soma by Sundari. So this is the actual process. That's why I said this chapter will tie the whole thing down,
Mhm.
properly. It kind of brings
Yeah.
everything together. And then the other goddesses that are to come, they are basically taking care of one function of this circuit. And I'll talk about it when we get there. So Agni eats this food. It consumes the delight, the divine delight that we spoke about. Now what happens in tapasya? It receives all the basic bliss. And that's why you see and you experience basic bliss, the essential bliss that's present in everything. On the other side, the Vedic rishis declare, they say, Somarasa cannot be poured in an unbaked vessel. The vessel will break, right? So, someone whose body is not ready for this kind of upsurge. You
Mhm.
may have seen a lot of people who don't do a lot of sadhana and they suddenly go for a Kundalini awakening experience or something like that. They find themselves sometimes a little cuckoo. They lose the sense of mind. They might not be able to live a practical life at all, may not be able to talk for days. All this happens because it was an unbaked vessel. So soma can be poured only in agni. That agni of fire has to be really strong for you to even receive this, the honey bliss of the
Yeah.
immortal delight. Now, if it is hazardous to pull into oneself the divine rupture welling from the head center without proper preparation, affected by the basic center, what is the safe course of action? The author is so beautifully raising the question and answering it. It says one has to go through the arduous course of tapasya and purification. But in spiritual matter, how far can one rely on self effort alone, right? You can't do it alone. If you go through even a body detox, you need someone who needs to make sure that you don't faint. So, tapasya and purification of the mind looks like the actual shadow work that we call right now. And that shadow work is not easy. But On a personal note, also, I feel, and I've seen and held people for last 12 years through this process. I feel the most essential part, or the very reason I'm doing this course, is so that you can actually access the divine. You can actually take help of the goddesses and the god world to progress faster, because you can't do it alone. You have to rely on grace. You have to see the role of grace. You have to accept when it comes for you to prosper. So, nothing is possible in yoga or spirituality without the grace of the divine. Hence, goddess Bhuvaneshwari arranges the action of Bhairavi and the response to Sundari. Now, Bhuvaneshwari is the practical person, right? She will make sure that you get into the right temple, you meet the right person, the right time gets available in your life, the right partner who supports your journey comes in. She's the one who arranges all this, and these two take care of the circuit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Tripura Sundari, Bhuvaneshwari, and Tripura Bhairavi forms the trinity. The discipline leading to the realization is called Sri Vidya. So if anybody asks what is Sri Vidya, you can easily say that this is a path of realization through the goddess. And goddess is different forms, but basically when you say that, it means these three goddesses. And their actions are interconnected and inseparable, okay? Like they are they, so it's so crazy that one of them comes in your life, the other two will come by default.
Okay.
So, in the last episodes, I've spoken about how Lalita happened to my life, right?
Yeah.
Actually, before that, I had a period of Kali for like 8 years almost. And then when she came in, I got the other two. So I ended up going to Isha for Linga Bhairavi. And then I discovered Bhuvaneshwari in a very strange way. I was looking for houses in Tiruvannamalai, and there was an empty house I went to see. Okay. And there was nothing in that house, maybe like just furniture, but one photo of Bhuvaneshwari. And it was crazy because I was contemplating that there has to be completion to my journey. And I, for the record, the owners didn't like me and they didn't give me the house. They said, no, you can't live here. It was a very magical house because there was Bhuvaneshwari's photo on my right, while in the front there was Arunachala you could see from the ground floor, which is a very rare
Wow.
occurrence here.
Yeah.
And it was right next to Gangama, who is a enlightened master here. So you can imagine like the triad. But they didn't give me the house, saying, we don't trust you. I was like, okay, no problem. But that's how Bhuvaneshwari or the triad could complete itself. You never know. These goddesses can show up in ways that you never imagine. I still remember in Netherlands, Tejaswini, a client, she said that I saw a bus with the name Ambika in Netherlands, and I realized that I have to talk to you. And we spoke, and then she left the country. Like, what are the chances to see a bus named Ambika in
Yeah. In
Netherlands?
Netherlands. Yes.
Would that happen? So that's how magical the goddesses can be when they come. So, in the subtle body, we'll see the actual placement now. Okay. So, stay with me. A little technical, but you'd have fun. Tripura Sundari in the crown chakra is the moon space. Okay. Also represents the divine delight. Bhuvaneshwari is in Anahata, heart space.
Okay.
Uh, but then you have to realize that she's also the backdrop of Kali, right? You remember she's the stage on which Kali dances.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
she's the seat of sun. The sun
Okay.
is here, moon is here. Now, Tripura Bhairavi is in Mooladhara, the place of initiation and fire. And now, what happens in the circuit? Both these ends melt into the heart center. And why is that? because both moon and fire get their light from the sun. So, for a lot of people, they may think receiving the highest knowledge of Tripurasundari, which is divine delight, is enlightenment. But no, it has to traverse this and come back in the heart center for one to really feel the unconditional love for the world. You may have, there are people who are on this stage where their sahasrar is fully open and they are able to get divine messages and all that, but that journey is still not complete. It completes when it meets in the heart center. So one of the best ways to know guru is also whether they have unconditional love and they treat everybody equally in a very practical sense, because for us to really recognize the enlightened master is also a task in this world. So Bhuvaneshwari arranges all of this through Kali in the heart. Okay, so both of them are two sections of the heart. This is not a linear this thing, this like a 3D triangular space where on the longest end we have three goddesses and then there is one Kali who is actually in the forefront. So when we die, when we are born, when we go through difficult times, it's the time, right? Difficult times, that's Kali. That's why time is
Yeah.
the fourth dimension, as they say in the astral physics world also. Okay. So her mantra is no, Slim, Shin. Means it's comprised of three letters, and she is basically so it's basically the sound of the suns. Uh, the deity is contemplated in dhyana as one who has the effulgence of thousand rising suns with red garment all over her body and a string of skulls where she's sitting in a lotus and she has three eyes and jeweled with the crown of the crest of the moon. Okay, so if you see this description, but if you see the photos outside on the internet, they may not represent all of this, but I got this on AI what is in front of you. But at the same time she has a smile in doing all of this. She still smiles. So that's also very beautiful. Uh, Now I will talk about a few things that are again a little technical. So stay with me. Hmm?
Mhm.
Why has she? So she is also known as a goddess of speech. Now, why is she called Vak Devta? She does all of this. This is the first part. The second part
Yeah.
of her second personality,
I
which
thought
doesn't
Tara
have.
was also Vak Devi.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see that connection
Okay.
also in some time.
Yeah.
Good observation. The Tripura Bhairavi is at the Mooladhara, is the seat of Paravak. So basically the sound before creation. Para is which is beyond or unmanifest, basically something that has not manifested. Now Pashyanti is to see technically in Sanskrit, but here it means the word that perceives. Madhyama is in the throat, okay, here,
Mhm.
where the faculty of speaking belongs. So now what happens when the word is born, it goes to Mooladhara, then it goes through the tapas, the agni, and then it becomes a word. It comes here, and that is why Tripura Bhairavi is also the goddess of speech, because she is the one who is blessing this process. Mooladhara is also the center of sex energy. So the word that creates the cosmos is transmitted as sex for the purpose of procreation in ordinary life. Imagine she is already processing the word, right, from the para to madhyama to, we'll see vaikari in the next one when actually the word is spoken. Here we are only speaking about is coming to the throat chakra, to the faculty. Okay,
Okay.
so, and she's also referred or prayed in terms by a seeker to create a life of brahmacharya or a brahma, to follow brahmacharya. Why? Because as the word is seated there, so is the sex energy. And this actual word, the brahmacharya, means having the movement in the word. literally means having the movement in the word. That's brahmacharya. So it is for this reason brahmacharya is used to donate the conservation of sexual energy. Why brahmacharya is called brahmacharya is this, because it's going to make the movement of the word. Now the
Make the
worship
movement
of,
of the world. I don't get it.
so in the sense that the word is being born, right? The
Ah,
first,
okay, yeah, okay,
yeah,
okay.
but it's
Yeah, yeah,
creating the movement. So if you
yeah.
don't want the movement, you follow brahmacharya.
Okay.
And that word and the sex energy is the same place.
Hmm.
Now, the worshipper of Tripura Bhairavi, by this grace of goddess, accomplishes the concentration of consciousness in his mind, speech, and body. In the physical, he learns to stop the downward course of life streams, conserve sex energy, and it upwards. So it also becomes the ojas. Now, ojas is the luminous energy of power and potentiality. Ojas is also referred to in terms of Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, they call ojas as the power of your mental health that heals the physical body. So when people have a lot of casual sex, or they engage in a lot of food, or they engage in any kind of mal activities, their ojas goes down, and that is given as cause of many diseases in Ayurveda. Okay,
Okay,
so this sex energy becomes ojas. It becomes the luminous power of possibilities through her blessings, like basically through her sadhana.
okay,
Thus, speech is conserved and turned back to its para, the first state, and held in concentrated consciousness, again, of course, as Agni. Now, likewise, in the realm of the mind, we have to see that what will happen to the man? He'll go behind the ideas, thoughts, and arrive at one idea, that one thought which he learns to hold completely, basically the self. So, thus, this grace of Tripura Bhairavi acts in thought, word, and deed of sadhaka. Right? You can see the change right in something that you can experience. She removes the fear, destroys the ignorance, and makes sadhaka surmount all difficulties. She is the end of the immensity of the spirit. So that's Tripura Bhairavi. You have any questions?
no,
No?
beautiful.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Cool. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please comment below. If you have a sharing, please send me an email. My email ID is mentioned. And I hope the goddess blesses you with all the love, grace, and joy.